Thank you all for joining us for the New Year, New You coaching series. Let me first introduce you to Saskia. Saskia is a coach, a motivational speaker, and a published author. She is a self-love advocate and campaigner. Love drives her, and connection keeps her going. Her vision is to stand for a world that is connected, authentic, loving, and expressive.
Why don't you first introduce yourself to the audience? Tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us how and what leads you to coaching.
Yes. Okay. So my name is Saskia. I'm originally from Haiti. I grew up there and was raised there my entire life. And then I moved to the States to go to school. So I went to the University of Miami. And my last year, my senior year, my cousin asked me to go to this transformational workshop. And I was like, I didn't really want to go, but I was like, why not? I'll try it. And so I went and then completely changed like my entire life. It's like the moment where I woke up and I was like, wow, like there's so many things that are in my way from me having the life that I want, and it's all within me.
That is awesome. And I think you mentioned about the transformation and how you wake up and feel like your life completely turned upside down and like very different. So can you tell us a little bit of what are the top 3 benefits you think coaching really give you access to?
Oh, so for me, for sure, coaching, having a coach and being exposed to the transformational world and what it could create, I learned to understand one of the things that for me was like the hardest to grasp was that there isn't a right way to do anything or to go about anything. I was always trying to find the right way, the right time, the right people, like trying to be at the perfect time at the right moment. And then I just got to learn that like we get to create our lives whatever way we want it to be, and there isn't one way to do it. There's like a million paths and we get to choose, and if you don't like this one, you get to choose another way. And for me, it was knowing that I have the choice to change at any moment, because for me, if I made a decision, I was like, okay, I chose this, I have to stick with it, like I can't leave it. And realizing that nothing is fixed, right? Like you get to choose at any point in time where you want to go. For me, that was very empowering to say like, oh, I have a choice. Like I can choose differently and I can create my own path and my own story, and I don't have to follow my family's or what's expected of me. And also self-love. I had no idea what that looked like or what that even was. I was like, yeah, I think I'm fine. I don't need much. And coaching kind of made me realize things about myself, like create awareness about me, and also realize what I wanted in my space, relationships that I wanted or didn't want anymore. So it allowed me to learn to know myself better and to choose what I wanted for me instead of for everybody else. So I started like a whole self-love journey of like, okay, like today I'm gonna do something for me, even if that means like watching TV for 10 minutes because I wanted to, right? So definitely self-love. It's the journey I'm still on, but coaching definitely is what started it for me and what brought that awareness that, oh, I can choose things that I want to do. And I would say the last thing that coaching provided was seeing possibilities where I saw none, and knowing that I can create a different outcome, and that kind of like going back to like there isn't a one way, but stepping out of my bubble and what I know to learn more about like things that I probably had no idea about. So for me, it exposed me to expanding my mind and expanding the way that I could get to certain goals. Like instead of me thinking like, oh, for me to, for example, get fit, I have to work out 6 times a week, a certain amount, instead of just me realizing actually I could start eating a certain way or do certain exercises, like, and finding a balance that works for me, but seeing outside of what I know and stepping into like a whole world of, well, what's possible would be the 3 things that I would say coaching really provided for me.
So what would you say to someone who's interested in coaching, but not sure exactly what they will be able to create for themselves?
Yeah. So if someone is interested in coaching, like when I have calls with potential clients, right? I first want to know what are your passions, right? Like what are you passionate about? What excites you? What gets you going? What are some things that dreams that you had, right? Like whether it was when you were a child or and like bringing that back, and also okay, like what are some things that have stopped you from going for those things, or what are some things that you feel that are in the way, and kind of looking at that. And for someone who's interested in coaching but a little bit uncertain, I think for what I always tell my clients is, are you at a point where you're ready to step into what you've never tried to have results you've never gotten before, right? Because at least in my experience, when you do the things that you know how to do, you're only going to get the results that you already know that you can get. So it's stepping into giving yourself the chance and the opportunity to try something new, because what you currently have, either you want more or it's not working, or you're feeling like this just isn't as fulfilling. So it's coming to a point where you're like, I'm ready to let go of what I know of to step into all the possibilities. And also knowing that having a coach isn't just like we're throwing you out in the wild and figure it out, right? It's like having someone that's supporting you through that whole process of stepping into that unknown, right? It's kind of like when a kid learns how to walk, the parent lets them walk, but they're right behind if the kid is ready to like fall, right? So I think of it as like coaching is like stepping into the unknown and knowing that like, okay, if you need support or if you need assistance, like that coach is there to support you. So if you are thinking about it, I would say hop on a call with either one of us that you felt connected to and ask more and get to know the coach and see what possibilities you can create for you, and creating that and going from there, from like that relationship with your coach and knowing that like they're there to support you and nothing else.
That is awesome. I think you touched on actions, right? And like how people can get up and doing the things that really achieving their goals. And we often hear many of us, right, are saying, I'm too busy. I don't have time for this. Or this is too expensive, right? I don't have the money for this. Why don't I, work to hope potentially, right, have more time or have more money, then come back and look at coaching or look at other possibilities and things that I wanted in life. What would you say to those people? And then what would you make them see there is an alternative way of living their life?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Because we do get clients that are like, I'll start maybe in March when I have everything figured out. And what I always tell them is, well, coaching is, first of all, it's an investment that you make in you, right? And I make up that a lot of us are so used to investing into other people or other things, but how much time do we spend investing in us and things that fuel us and things that help us get to where we want to get to, right? So coaching, I'm like, the price you're paying is the investment you're putting in you, right? So whatever the amount is, I'm like, if it's a 6 month contract or 1 year, it's like you're paying this much for 6 months to completely change the rest of your life, right? Like you're investing that in you, kind of like placing like, I'm betting on me that this investment is going to help me get to that next step or that next level that I'm trying to step into. And sometimes we're like, oh, financially I can't. And part of coaching is, if that's something you want to work on, is to create more abundance. Because if I make up that if you can't afford coaching, there's probably other things in your life that you also want, but you can't afford. So coaching is like, how can we get you to create or generate that abundance, that financial abundance that you want, that you're not only paying for coaching, but you're also paying for those other things that you want. So it's working with my clients that, okay, how can we generate that for you? And noticing like, oh, I don't have the time, or I'm working on too many things. It's like, well, coaching is just a tool to help you with those projects you have, right? Like it's not like an extra task or extra homework that you have. It's just supporting you and having all these other things that you're taking care of and balancing to help you create that balance and that flow. So I would say it's the investment that you're making in you for you.
So, Saskia, who will benefit the most by working with you?
Anyone and everyone who's ready. I So one of our trainers says nobody needs coaching, but everyone can benefit from it. And I think it's so true because coaching isn't, it's not fixing anything. Coaching isn't like, it's not about changing who you are, because you are is already like who you get to be and who you are. It's just whatever things that your reaction and how you respond to it. So coaching is kind of like looking at that. And I would say for me, I like to take on clients that are just ready for that change, and whether they're uncertain, they're holding back. And it's like, okay, what are you willing to invest in you? And like, how can we create that? So I work with all clients. I don't have like a specific age or a hub that I work for, but for me, it's somebody who's ready because they're like, this just isn't working. Like you're at a point where you're realizing like what I've been doing, either it's not working or I want more. And I'm like, all right, great. Let's create that more. Let's go for those things that you want. Let's create those relationships. Let's create those habits. And that's really what, because coaching is really that support, that accountability, and having someone who sees what you can do, your potential, even when you don't see it for yourself. And just knowing that, okay, this is me stepping into my next step, and me trusting myself and creating the support that I need to get there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Saskia.